She thought she had found something real, something lasting. But behind closed doors, reality TV icon Holly Madison was living through something far darker than anyone knew. For over 5 years, she was in an on-again, off-again relationship with Zak Bagans, the famed host of Ghost Adventures. Fans saw a private, low-key romance. But what they didn't see was the emotional unraveling happening behind the scenes. Now, in a shocking twist, Holly has come forward with bombshell claims that Zak cheated on her with at least 7 different women. She didn't just make the accusation, she came with receipts. And suddenly, what looked like a quiet breakup turned into a public reckoning. From Instagram to TikTok, and even support from fellow celebrities like Trisha Paytas, this story has become more than just a breakup. It's a betrayal years in the making. Stay tuned as we uncover the full truth behind the love, the lies, and the haunting end of Holly Madison and Zak Bagans. Long before she was trending for exposing Zak Bagans' alleged cheating, Holly Madison had already lived through a whirlwind of fame, glamour, and hidden trauma. Born Holland Sue Cullen in Oregon, she began her journey far from the bright lights of Hollywood. But after moving to Los Angeles in her early 20s, she found herself immersed in the infamous world of the Playboy Mansion, a place that would define and haunt her in equal measure. Holly rose to fame as one of Hugh Hefner's girlfriends and the breakout star of The Girls Next Door, the hit reality show that gave viewers a heavily filtered glimpse into life at the mansion. Blonde, bubbly, and seemingly living the dream, Holly became the fan favorite. But years later, she would reveal that the fantasy was a carefully constructed illusion, one filled with manipulation, control, and emotional isolation. Her memoir, Down the Rabbit Hole, became a bestseller by exposing the dark truths behind the Playboy brand, making her a powerful voice for women breaking free from toxic environments. After leaving Playboy, Holly reinvented herself. She built a successful Las Vegas career in shows like Peep Show, became a mother, and continued to speak openly about her past. She distanced herself from the hyper-sexualized image she was known for, embracing a more authentic identity through writing, podcasting, and content creation. Her podcast, Girls Next Level, dives deep into her reality TV experiences and has been praised for its honesty and empowerment. Throughout her public life, Holly has been candid about her struggles with self-worth, unhealthy relationships, and the pressure to maintain a perfect image. These experiences shaped her expectations for love, expectations she hoped would be fulfilled when she entered a new chapter with Zak Bagans. She wasn't looking for drama, she was looking for peace. But as history would soon repeat itself, even the paranormal couldn't prepare her for what lay ahead. Zak Bagans is no ordinary television host. Since 2008, he's been the face of Ghost Adventures, a show that went from cult hit to paranormal empire. With his intense stare, black wardrobe, and fearless approach to haunted locations, Zak cultivated an image of the ultimate ghost hunter, someone who wasn't just documenting the paranormal, but confronting it head-on. But behind the bravado lies a far more complicated and private individual. Born in Washington, D.C., and raised in Illinois, Zak originally dreamed of being a filmmaker. His life changed after a personal paranormal experience in Michigan, which pushed him to explore ghost hunting full-time. That led to the creation of Ghost Adventures, first as a documentary in 2004, then as a full series in 2008 on the Travel Channel. From abandoned asylums to demonic possessions, Zak was all in. His confrontational style, provoking spirits, staying overnight in cursed buildings, quickly made him a standout in the paranormal world. But with success came a transformation. Zak became increasingly reclusive, known for keeping his personal life under wraps. He avoided interviews that delved into his relationships and kept a tight grip on his public image. His Las Vegas haunted museum, filled with allegedly cursed objects like the Dybbuk box and Bela Lugosi's mirror, became an extension of his identity. Zak often spoke about being spiritually drained, suffering physical ailments in haunted places, and feeling followed by dark energy. While some brushed it off as theatrics, others believed he was genuinely affected. When he began quietly dating Holly Madison in 2019, it seemed like a rare glimpse of Zak's softer side. He appeared to have found someone who understood fame, the burden of image, and the desire for privacy. And for Zak Bagans, the ghosts weren't just in haunted buildings. They were in his personal life, too. In the spring of 2019, the worlds of paranormal investigation and Hollywood glam unexpectedly collided. Holly Madison, already a staple in pop culture thanks to her Playboy past and best-selling memoirs, took a trip to Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. It was a casual visit, something fun, spooky, and very on-brand for a woman who had long been fascinated by the macabre. But that visit sparked something deeper. According to insiders, the two hit it off almost immediately. They had more in common than it seemed. Both had endured the exhausting glare of fame. Both were highly protective of their private lives. And both had cultivated personas, Zak as the fearless ghost hunter, Holly as the glam survivor of the Playboy empire. In each other, they saw refuge. Their relationship began quietly, almost secretively. There were no red carpet appearances, no joint interviews. In fact, many fans didn't even know they were dating until well after it started. Holly, who had once lived her entire life in front of cameras, now seemed to crave something low-key and stable. Zak, who had always guarded his personal space, found comfort in someone who understood why privacy mattered so much. As the months went on, their connection deepened. They bonded over their shared love of the eerie and unexplained. Friends described their energy together as magnetic. Holly reportedly visited the haunted museum often, and the couple spent most of their time out of the public eye, enjoying quiet dinners, road trips, and long nights discussing the darker side of life and love. But there were red flags. Zak's world, dark objects, haunted locations, spiritual attachments, wasn't always easy to navigate emotionally. Holly, who had worked hard to reclaim her identity post-Playboy, sometimes struggled to find balance in a relationship that thrived in shadows. And as much as they tried to stay grounded, the secrecy began to blur the line between privacy and hiding. The very thing that made their relationship feel safe, its quiet nature, would eventually become its most fragile element. For over 5 years, Holly Madison and Zak Bagans maintained one of the most private, high-profile relationships in Hollywood. They were rarely photographed together, seldom posted about one another, and almost never confirmed their relationship status publicly. But behind that deliberate silence was a romance that many close to them described as intensely private but emotionally volatile. While Holly had already gone through her fair share of public scrutiny, Zak seemed particularly uncomfortable with any intrusion into his personal world. He guarded his image fiercely and seemed almost allergic to relationship visibility. Holly, perhaps trying to protect the peace she had built post-Playboy, didn't press for red carpets or social media shout-outs. Instead, the couple leaned into discretion. They were seen occasionally around Las Vegas, at dinners, small events, or at Zak's museum, but always low-key, always unassuming. By late 2024, the couple was reportedly spending more time apart than together. And while they never announced their breakups publicly, Holly's silence on social media and Zak's continued avoidance of the topic became all the confirmation fans needed. But as 2025 began, Holly would finally choose to stop protecting the narrative and start telling her truth. In March 2025, Holly Madison quietly dropped a bombshell during an episode of her podcast. Without fanfare, she confirmed what many fans had suspected for months. Her relationship with Zak Bagans was over, for good this time. But what stood out most wasn't just the announcement itself, but the way she described the relationship. "It was off and on for years," she said candidly, her voice calm but resolute. "We had our good times, but it just wasn't sustainable. I don't regret it, but I'm also not carrying it with me anymore." There was no anger in her tone, just exhaustion. It was the sound of someone who had finally closed a chapter after years of second chances and emotional limbo. Holly didn't offer details at the time, but her wording hinted at something deeper than a simple breakup. Words like draining, confusing, and unreciprocated painted a picture of a relationship that had taken more than it had given. Fans flooded her with support. Many praised her vulnerability, noting how far she had come since her days at the Playboy mansion. Some speculated that the emotional toll had simply become too great, especially with Zak's increasingly withdrawn behavior and lack of public acknowledgement. Meanwhile, Zak Bagans remained silent. No statement, no comment, not even a subtle social media post. For someone so used to investigating the hidden truths of haunted places, he now found himself the subject of a mystery he refused to address. The breakup was final, but the closure was incomplete. Holly had ended the relationship, but unanswered questions hung in the air. Why had it taken so long? What finally pushed her to walk away? And most importantly, was there something she hadn't yet revealed? As it turns out, she wasn't done telling her story. Just weeks later, the truth would come out, and it would send shockwaves through both their fan bases. On May 10th and 11th, 2025, Holly Madison took to Instagram and detonated the truth. The most damning part? Her humor. One photo was captioned, "Some people were cheating in bulk," a sarcastic jab that showed both her devastation and her defiant spirit. Holly wasn't just calling Zak out, she was reclaiming the narrative. For years, she had protected their privacy. Now, she was done staying silent. On TikTok, she expanded further. She said she welcomed the women who reached out to her and hoped they would feel empowered to share their full stories. She expressed heartbreak, but also clarity. "It all makes sense now," she said. "The gaslighting, the distance, the excuses. I'm just glad I finally know the truth." Support poured in. Trisha Paytas, a major internet personality, commented on Holly's post with praise and solidarity. "Good for you, girl," she wrote. "We've all been there. Proud of you for speaking out." Dozens of influencers followed suit, applauding Holly for her honesty and calling Zak's alleged behavior disgusting, manipulative, and cowardly. Zak once again said nothing. No denial, no apology, just silence. But silence speaks volumes, and in this case it spoke of guilt, avoidance, and a shattered image he could no longer control. Holly had flipped the script, and Zak Bagans, the man who once searched for ghosts in the dark, was now the one being haunted by his own actions. The internet erupted. Within hours of Holly Madison's Instagram stories going live, her name was trending across multiple platforms. TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and Twitter were flooded with reactions. Some shocked, others not surprised, but nearly all united in support of Holly. In an era where celebrity infidelity is practically routine, what made this case different was the scale and the receipts. 7 women, 7 different affairs, and one public figure who had remained eerily silent. One of the most high-profile voices to jump in was Trisha Paytas, the controversial yet influential internet personality with millions of followers. Known for her unfiltered commentary and fierce loyalty, Trisha commented on Holly's TikTok post with praise. "We've all been through that. You're brave for speaking up. Screw the silence." That single comment lit a fire across social media. Other influencers began reposting Holly's quotes. Podcasts and gossip pages picked up the story with titles like "Zak Bagans, the ghost hunter with a haunted dating record," and "Holly Madison deserves better." Comment sections were flooded with users sharing their own stories of emotional manipulation, betrayal, and patterns of silence. Holly had unintentionally tapped into something bigger than herself, an epidemic of women being lied to, dismissed, and disrespected behind the scenes of carefully curated relationships. One tweet went viral. "Zak Bagans used to hunt spirits. Now he's being haunted by the consequences of cheating on Holly Madison." Fans of Ghost Adventures were split. Some remained loyal to Zak, insisting there had to be another side to the story. Others expressed disappointment, calling him out for hiding behind silence and avoiding accountability. Conspiracy theories began to pop up. Was his obsession with haunted artifacts a metaphor for his inability to let go of his darker tendencies? Was he emotionally unavailable by design? Holly, for her part, remained composed and even humorous in her responses. She shared a meme that read, "Plot twist. The ghost was my ex's conscience." The message was clear. She wasn't playing the victim. She was taking control of her story, and the public, by and large, was standing with her. For someone whose brand is built on confronting the supernatural, Zak Bagans seemed completely unprepared for the real-life storm now surrounding him. In the days following Holly Madison's explosive cheating revelations, Zak chose complete silence. No denial, no clarification, no apology. Fans and critics alike waited for any sign that he would respond, but none came. And in that vacuum, his image began to deteriorate. Media outlets speculated endlessly about his behavior. Was this the first time he had done something like this? Or simply the first time he got caught? Did his lifestyle, surrounded by cursed artifacts, working odd hours, constantly traveling to dark places, make maintaining a healthy relationship impossible? The lack of answers only intensified the scrutiny. Business-wise, the ripple effect began to show. Reviews for Zak's haunted museum on Yelp and Google began receiving negative comments not about the museum itself, but about Zak's character. "Cool artifacts, but the guy running it is a walking red flag," one review read. Fans started questioning if the dark energy Zak always talked about wasn't from haunted dolls or demonic spirits, but from his own unresolved issues. Longtime viewers of Ghost Adventures felt conflicted. For over a decade, Zak was seen as fearless and driven, but now he seemed avoidant and detached. A few episodes even aged poorly in hindsight, particularly ones where Zak empathized with people feeling tormented by the past. Ironically, he was now being tormented by his own. What hurt his reputation most wasn't just the cheating, it was the silence. Holly had laid out the facts, and the public believed her because she offered transparency, vulnerability, and humor in the face of pain. Zak offered nothing in return. His failure to even acknowledge the situation made him look guilty by omission and cowardly by comparison. As days turned into weeks with no statement, some fans hoped he was taking time to reflect and eventually make amends. Others believed he was trying to wait it out and let the scandal fade. But one thing was certain: Zak Bagans, once a mystery wrapped in ghost stories, was now facing a very real and public reckoning. And unlike the spirits he chased on television, this one wasn't going away quietly. For Holly Madison, the end of her relationship with Zak Bagans wasn't just a breakup. It was a turning point. After years of private pain, subtle red flags, and emotional whiplash, she had finally stepped into her truth. And while the revelations were painful, they were also freeing. Holly wasn't hiding anymore. She was standing tall, empowered, and more in control of her narrative than ever before. Since the scandal broke, Holly has leaned into her platforms with renewed purpose. Her podcast, Girls Next Level, has seen a surge in listeners. New episodes subtly address themes of betrayal, emotional abuse, and female resilience, without naming names, but leaving little doubt about the inspiration. Her TikToks blend humor and truth, often pairing cheeky captions with empowering messages that resonate deeply with women who've been through similar situations. She's also received a wave of new brand partnerships and speaking invitations. The same vulnerability that once made her the subject of gossip now makes her a voice for strength. Survivors, influencers, and fans alike have reached out to say, "Thank you for saying what so many of us are afraid to." And she's not stopping there. Holly has hinted at a new memoir, one that goes beyond the Playboy mansion and dives into what happens after fame, after heartbreak, and after the mask of a perfect relationship falls away. "I've lived a lot of lives," she recently said in a post, "and the truth is, I'm just getting started." As for her personal life, she's not rushing into anything. Friends say she's focusing on healing, enjoying time with her kids, and pouring her energy into creative projects. She's not looking backward anymore. She's writing the next chapter, with honesty, clarity, and zero tolerance for lies. The girl once defined by other people's narratives has now become the author of her own. And in a world that still loves to silence women, Holly Madison isn't just speaking up. She's shouting the truth for everyone to hear.